Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marsha Talley, your emotional wellness coach. So I'm here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon in England, and it is gorgeous. The sun is shining. It is hot. My fan is blazing in the background to keep me cool in my home office outside. And I'm having a great day. But I started off this morning quite intense. I was woken out of my sleep with this thought about womanhood and what that means, and actually what I consider a war on womanhood. And I know in the name of all things inclusive, it is almost inappropriate to state my opposition to anyone wanting to be called a woman who is not biologically a woman. I know that it's not politically correct to voice my views on that, especially as a woman myself and a Black woman. So, what I have noticed is whenever people bring up this topic, whenever we try to have this conversation, people will shut it down very quickly with name calling like transphobia or bigotry, or they will use the fact that I am a Black woman and the struggles of the past or the present to justify why I should be accepting of what I cannot. So I'm going to share my concerns. And some people ask, how is this infringing on women? First of all, I want to clarify that I stand in support and solidarity with everyone who wants their human rights to be respected. If you are not bringing harm to yourself or other people, I respect your right to have your life and livelihood protected. No one should come in harm's way at all just because of their appearance or actually their beliefs. Unless you are truly out here destroying lives, your life should be protected. So I want to prefix with that. And I also want to add that I support people from all walks of life, including people who are transgendered. There is a misconception that everyone who is homosexual agrees with the transgender movement, and that is not so. Now, I'm not homosexual and I don't adhere to any names, but the reason I bring that up is because people always want to lump those things into one without having any kind of question or discussion. It's almost like you're just expected to just accept things without any type of pushback. It's supposed to be what you accept. Why would you have any questions about it? Why would you have any say in what someone else is trying to shove down your throat? And make no mistake, this is an agenda that is being shoved down our throats, and I'm not for it. So let me get into it. For as long as I can remember, there have always been men who dressed up as women. I have been to drag shows. I've been in the community. I understand the vibes. It wasn't until recently, though, during the pandemic, that there was this heavy push for changes to be made in the name of men who dresses like women, or men who feel like women, or men who identify as women. I cannot dispute how a person feels or how a person identifies. I will not do that. But what I will say is that I stand on the premise that being a woman is sacred and that it's not minimized to just a feeling or just makeup or just dress up. Women come in all types of shapes, sizes, personality, dynamics. There's some of us that are extremely feminine, some of us are extremely masculine. We're women. Yet there is this idea that womanhood only falls in this one look. So those people who decide they're going to adopt what looks like women, usually put on the makeup, usually put on the dresses, usually put on the heels, and they usually put on what they believe is a representation of womanhood. And I feel that is misguided. So how does it fringe on my right as a woman? I find it extremely disrespectful first. I find it disrespectful that someone who was not born a female, was not born biologically female, believed that at some point in their life that they could just take up the mantle and run with it. The challenges that comes with being a woman should not be minimized. There's so many things that goes on beneath the scene, outside of, beyond the appearance, that affects women that will never affect a transgender woman. So my statement is clear. Transgendered women, trans women, are not women. They are trans women. That is a fact. The problem is, why can't that be it? Why must transgender women now force the world to rename what womanhood here is, what being a woman means? Why must that be forced on all of us? That is unacceptable. And I don't like that people are not calling that out. I'm not liking that people are not talking about that. And I do not like that people are threatening people's lives and livelihood and name calling and shunning and ostracizing people because they do not agree that trans women should be named and included in what woman is. I don't understand how that is an argument. Why is it not sufficient to be transgender? And here's why it's important to have that differentiation. Again, being a woman and being a transgender woman, we have two different struggles. As much as you think it's the same because you believe misguidedly that being a woman is about the makeup, it's about the feeling, it's about the clothes. That's what you think being a woman is, and it's not. Those are not what separates us. That's not what makes it different. So you ask, what makes it different? For one, our biological makeup. And that goes in more than our genitalia. But that includes and should not be diminished. That should not be excluded from the conversation. Why would we want to exclude our body parts from the conversation when it is that so many people feel so trapped by? And I find it very interesting that the people who are calling for a genderless society or a gender fluid society are the most focused on gender. I was watching Project Runway yesterday, and these particular designers, and I believe this was the All-Star, this particular designer, two of them, but one of the two were very adamant that they envision this world of that's gender-free and gender fluid, and that's how they want to create their clothes. And the whole time I'm thinking there, just design clothes and wear clothes. If a man, and I want to be clear about this, if a man wants to wear his eyeshadow, his lashes, his lipstick, his hair, his nails, his dress, his heels, his handbag, he wants to be out here and he wants to slay to the gods. Do you? Wear your clothes. Do your thing. That does not make you woman. It doesn't make you a woman. You're still a man. And the problem that I'm having is that we are really teaching young people, and I'm going to go into this because it is affecting young people, as much as people want to quote data that the transgender community is 0.5% or whatever it is of the population, and people throw that out. They are not including the amount of students and children that are affected by this now, who they themselves are calling themselves transgender without really understanding the implication of it or what that really means. So, people can wear what they want. dress how they want. But we should not be forced to accept that a woman is a man or a man is a woman. And this is where I am concerned. I am concerned that we are not helping people to live a healthy life in the body that they were blessed with. I've seen people with all levels of disability who've learned how to live happily in the bodies they were gifted with. I come from the belief that we are spirit first, traveling this human experience in this body as our vehicle. And while in the natural sense, we can change out our bodies, I do feel that we have to learn how to accept ourselves. A lot of us, and I saw this on LinkedIn this morning, and this was actually gay brother who was fully dressed up. He had his makeup on, his nails done, all of that. He still had his beard, his hair was cut short, so you know it was a man, and he never claimed he was a woman. But one of the things he said, and it resonated well with me, he said, a lot of us are walking around claiming we know who we are. We're saying, I am. And he actually started what he was talking about, stating that it's not just gay people who has to come out of the closet or who are closeted. It's only that gay people are honest enough to say or be aware enough to know, I'm adding that part, to be aware enough to know that they are closeted, that they are in the closet. But he was saying, and remember, this is a gay man fully dressed in makeup with nails and all of that. Again, wear what you want to wear. The message is strong. A lot of us claim we know who we are, but we're uncomfortable in ourselves. We're closeted within ourselves. We believe that it's doing all these things. It's just like when I think about women who they go off and they get undressed and they do these risque things, believing that's what liberation looks like. And it's really a path that, and I mean, I'm hoping along that path they do discover who they are, because all of us have to come to that realization. It doesn't happen at once. But a lot of us don't know who we are. And I'm concerned that we are putting emphasis in the wrong places. I'm concerned that we are teaching young people that if they feel like it, they can just go ahead and chop off their genitalias, chop off their body parts, and that will make them feel better. And the problem is they're realizing it doesn't. But those body parts are now gone. So what do? They're gone. So now you've created an additional problem. I'm concerned that we are putting the emphasis in the wrong places. Instead of teaching people that as a girl, you could dress up in certain ways or do certain things and still be a girl. For example, I am multifaceted. For some people, they may consider me a lesbian just because of the things that I do. And in some cases, how I dress, maybe. I dress pretty feminine, but so does a lot of lesbians. But some people may call me masculine, and they have, because I take care of my own business. I don't wait around for a guy or anybody else to do it. My lawn needs cutting, you cut it. Whatever needs doing, if there's a situation in the house that needs to be fixed and I can fix it, I'm fixing it. I'm doing those things. And I have a girl child. I was blessed as a mother, as a woman. I was blessed to be able to bore a child and made that choice to actually have this child. Because that's another conversation too. Some of us choose otherwise. And I have to show her and have these conversations with her. You can be a girl and have masculine traits. You can be a girl and don't like pink. She's never liked pink, even though our entire room was painted in pink as a child. She's never liked pink. But for some people, they have been pigeonholed into believing that if they like certain things and act a certain way, then they must be this or that. And that's not how that works. That's not how it should work. In fact, that's not how society is set up. You can be multifaceted. We are placing emphasis on the wrong areas. We've got to get to the point where we can teach people how to accept themselves, all of themselves. It's when I think about the grass is greener on the other side, or keeping up with the Jones. That same mentality where people are like, well, if they have it better, so I'll just do what they do. It looks better over there, so I'll just do. And I hear people talking about trans women being labeled as women will protect them. How? How? Have you not read, heard, watched the statistics of what actually happens to women? Do you realistically, let's talk. Do you not know the crimes that has happened to women over time? Not just in this century, but over time? How do you think a man who believes he's a woman or identifies as a woman, because I'm not sure how we come to that determination, so I won't speak on that part. So I'm just going to try and use the vocabulary that I know. How do we decide that a trans woman will be more protected being labeled a woman? So this is where it infringes on women's rights for me. Women need a safe space. Men need a safe space. Children need safe spaces. We need that. There are places for men, like there should be. There are places for women, like there should be. There are places for children, like there should be. And when you're in each of those places, sometimes you're in a place for children, and adults shouldn't be there unless they're there supervising. And that's okay. So it looks super odd when you see an adult there just hanging out, because we realize that adult shouldn't be there. That's not the place for him. It's not the place for her. Same thing with if you're in a space that's just for a man and a woman is there hanging out, except she's just there to help out with something or facilitate in some way, and she's part of it. It's going to feel odd. Same thing for women. If a man is in a space that is supposed to be for a woman, that is going to feel some type of way. I give you an example. I have a WhatsApp group chat, and one of the members runs a safe space environment in a barbershop just for men, where they can talk about whatever. So we posted about the event in my group. And as a group member, I'm cool with that. Do your thing. You're a group member. And I asked, so are you going to share what you guys talk about with us? And he said, no, it's a safe space for men. And my respect level jumped so high for this guy, because what I realize is not even realize, it's reaffirming. Men need safe spaces, like women need safe spaces. But for whatever reason, people think it's okay to now infringe on the space of women in the name of inclusion, or being inclusive, in the name of equality and human rights. People believe it's okay, acceptable even, to have men, or let me clarify, trans women, or let me clarify even further, for me, people who, and you know what? I hear the argument that how would you know that a person is transgender? I've heard this argument, and I've asked the question myself. The thing is, the person knows, right? They know. But how would we know? Sometimes we know. We can see it. It's visible. It's obvious in some cases. In other cases, we don't know. And here's the thing, because it all boils down to like restrooms, for example, for whatever reason. But that's one of the things. There are other spaces that I believe that women should have free of men. I really do believe that. I understand that trans women do not identify as men. But that is complicated, and I need them to understand that. It's complicated for women. There are tons of women out here that are silenced. This is another infringement. We're silenced. We don't feel like we can talk about this subject because we don't want to lose our jobs, for one. There's certain places that are going in the direction of being inclusive, and they should. They should. You should be inclusive. You should be inclusive. But what is happening is now, you, as a woman, an actual woman, I can't voice my opinion on certain things because I could lose my job. I could lose my social clout, or just in being around my friends. We could lose those things. And I know people are likening it to other struggles in society, like racial issues, and people liken it to that. And I don't see it as the same thing at all. It's not the same thing. So I was charging my car. So I was at a rest area, and I saw a guy or a person who looks like a man. He was not hiding that part. He was bald-headed, losing his hair a little bit. He wasn't hiding the fact that he looked like a man, but he was also dressed in a dress, had makeup on. You know, he looked, the attire would be something that women would wear. And I noticed that this mother and her children kind of eyeing him. And I did wonder, like, which bathroom would he go into? Because at this particular rest area, there is a bathroom for the man, bathroom for the woman, and then there's one in the middle, literally in the middle in this case, that is for people who have to change their children, have disabilities, or in this case, they had neutral. So I could go in that bathroom if I wanted to, but there was one for women, so I used that. And I wondered, I was curious, but I didn't watch him because I don't want to do all of that. Where would this person go? In which bathroom? But even further than that, I really thought about this. Two thoughts came to mind. When we go in the bathroom, there are very few people policing people. You go in the bathroom, you do your business, you're out. In fact, as a woman, I've used the men's bathroom. And it's clear that I'm a woman, but I've gone in there when there weren't other men in there and used it because it was free. And the women's bathroom, like if you ever go clubbing, the women's bathroom is always jam-packed. And the men's bathroom is just, usually free. So as a woman, I've done that. I don't, and again, those times, those spaces are empty. But I don't know if people are in the bathroom necessarily policing people. When they go in the bathroom, you just go, do your thing, and you leave. The problem is, though, we're emphasizing things that I don't really feel like it needs to be emphasized. Because if the bathroom situation is an issue, shouldn't we just ask for more bathrooms that is suitable for transgender women? Wouldn't that be appropriate? If they're more unison, there's actually a place that I've gone to. It's an art gallery. And they just have individual cubicles. It just said toilets over the top, and you went to the individual cubicles. So it was one toilet. So, and each toilet had a door. You go in the bathroom, full stop, period, done, over. There's nothing to discuss. There's literally go use the bathroom and leave. There's nothing to discuss. I understand that some places are not like that. So what do? Do we say, okay, we are going to make sure we protect trans women by allowing them to use the women's bathroom? Do you know what? That could be okay. But that still wouldn't mean that you are a woman. I've seen little boys come in the bathroom with their parents. Doesn't mean they're a little girl. They're using the facility and they're leaving. I don't think using a bathroom defines the person's gender or sexual orientation or their identity. Use the bathroom, bounce. The challenge here, though, and no one likes to talk about this, When you have people who will hijack somebody else's struggles and challenges for their own benefit, you will have men who will dress up like women to be in those spaces so they could take advantage of those people. Let's not pretend like we do not know that women are most likely or more likely to be preyed upon by men. Not saying that women don't do heinous things to men, to children, to other people, not saying that, but look at the statistics. Look at the statistics. Now, the statistics may become skewed if we decide that trans women are women, because instead of it now being a man committing a crime against a woman, it will say it's a woman committing a crime against a woman. So the data is going to be skewed. It's going to look like women are committing more crimes. There are lots of things we don't think about when we think about when when we're walking, we're marching, you have to, and please stop using the Black struggle to justify these things. Please stop doing that. I've seen where pedophiles, they're also calling out for their human rights and their protection, and they're also calling out saying that it's their identity and their sexual orientation, and they want to be protected too. There was even a flag. And I caution people to think critically about what you just accept. I'm not telling anyone that trans women should not have human rights, because they should, and they should be protected. I am also saying that trans women are not women, and their human rights should not infringe on that of women. And if you want to have a conversation with me more about this, I would love to welcome you to my podcast, Candid Conversations with Marsha, because I like to have these conversations. I think so many of us want to have this conversation, but don't feel free enough to talk about it. We don't feel like we have a place anymore. I did a poll asking people, why do you think so many women do not feel comfortable saying that trans women are not women? And it's not that women don't feel that, because I think it's mad disrespectful. That's me. I think it's mad disrespectful that Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, won Woman of the Year that time he did. I think that was mad disrespectful. A person who has lived most of his life so far, a significant portion of his life as a man, said for whatever constitutes a person saying, I'm actually a woman, however that works. But then he was able to win Woman of the Year. I think sometimes they do these things to get into our heads. I think they do it to test us, to see who's thinking and who's just ready to accept whatever. And don't even think, like, even on social media, I know that someone is going to call you names if you go against it or if you question it. I get that. But I think it's all part of it. It's all part of the conditioning. When someone is trying to, not someone, but because it's not just one person, but when you are trying to enforce an agenda, the best way to do that is to get into the person's head. There's some people who have mastered the art of manipulation. They know how to deal with people. They know how to work people. They know how to get over on people. And I'm not saying I am not susceptible to the brainwashing too, or the conditioning too. I just know on this particular subject, I stand 10 toes down. And I will say it with my chest, trans women are not women. And I feel it's disrespectful that women cannot voice their opinion on that. I feel disrespected as a woman that I am shunned and my concerns are not considered, because instead of them being considered, they are classified as hateful. They're classified as phobic. They're classified as you are just out here trying to endanger people's lives. and that everything that my concerns are about is motivated from fear. It's not motivated from fear. My concerns are legitimate. I find it more than interesting that there are men who are willing to hijack a woman's struggle. I cannot speak for everyone, and I'm not speaking for anyone who's transgender, actually, because I don't know. But what it looks like from the outside looking in is that there is a movement that is minimizing the value of a woman, the value of mothers, what we mean to the world, what we mean to society, minimizing it and diminishing it just to a level of makeup and attire and a feeling. So when people talk about, I just felt like a woman, I want to know, which woman do they feel like? Did you feel like a Black woman? Did you feel like a Black Jamaican woman? Did you feel like a Black... Which woman? What do you mean by that? Because I'll tell you something. I don't remember the last time I woke up feeling like a woman. I just am. I am. What does feeling like a woman means? Do you mean the tenderness in the boobies? The monthly thing that happens? And yes, there are women that don't experience those things. That is not what happens to all of us. Most of us experience something hormonal, certain types of changes that makes us women. What is the problem with there being man and woman? What's the problem? Why is there such a war on womanhood? And why is there such a war on differentiating between men and women? Why is that such a problem? Why has this become the focal point? To the point that it's in schools and changing legislation, laws, regulation, all sorts of things. And you think it's not. It is. I have seen some things on campuses I've been to. I have seen our students and how, I don't know if parents are fully aware, but parents, I do want to tell you to get involved. Wherever your students are, wherever your child is going to school, please get involved. Find out what their take is on certain things. Find out what is actually being implemented. You may be surprised. I don't know if you will be, but you may be surprised to see some of the things that these schools are implementing as a way of being inclusive. And I'm about the inclusivity now. I was one of those people who made the news because I had a safe zone poster in my school, in my classroom, and our principal decided to remove it. I was one of them teachers. I had the rainbow. I don't need to talk about all of that because I think that's irrelevant here. Because, you know, when you have a certain stance, people automatically assume all sorts of things about you. I get that. I understand that. And I'm not even going to give a resume of this, that, or the other. I'm not. But this is my stance. That's what you need to know right now. Why am I sharing this? Because when I talk to my daughter, and she's like, you know, the difference between my daughter and I, she's like, and she's much younger. She's like, I don't like to share my opinion unless someone asks for it. Well, someone has asked for mine. They have asked for mine. And I believe some of us have got to use our voices more because people really do believe that all women are on board with this. People truly believe that all women are okay because we're not using our voice. And that is an infringement on our rights as women. You should feel safe in places that you do not want to see men. That is okay. That is actually okay. We also need to be teaching people how to be accepting of themselves. Why do you need to change? Even when we think about the extremes with surgery, because that's the thing, you know, people just go extreme. Once upon a time, people, if you felt a little tomboyish, you would just wear certain clothes. But now we're going to extreme, we're chopping off our parts. And then I blot this one out of my memory because I was so upset seeing the image. You chopped off your part. You decide to have a child, and then you're feeding that child from your phantom body part that you chopped off. Oh. How do you not see that as insane? How do you not see that as something that we need to look at critically and say, and how do people get help, emotional help, mental help, physical help, if we just throw those people in this one corner and say, hey, that's who they are and it's fine? Because the truth of the matter is, they, like a lot of us, are suffering with self-identity. We need to talk about the fact that we all deal with that at some point or the other. It doesn't have to be a situation where you take it to the extreme. We are all trying to discover ourselves in this human experience. None of us just got here and go, oh, I just know who I am from day jump. It's a journey. But too many of you are making permanent decisions in a temporary situation. And we're now living in a society that wants to facilitate that. And that's insane. We have got to teach our children that being a gender, male or female, is not just about color or what you wear, what games you play with, or you liking to be in the kitchen or not, or even who you like or who you love. There is value to our gender. There's value in our differences. And the way I see this, it sounds just like people who always say, I don't see color. And I'm really always confused as to why they don't see color, because that's a problem. We are all different. It reminds me of the medical field that don't consider the fact that I'm a Black woman and my makeup is different, but instead treat me like everyone else because we're all the same, and we are not. We have to normalize the fact that we're different, and we don't have to take things to the extreme. We have to normalize that it's healthy to go on a journey of self-discovery without going to the extreme. We have to teach emotional wellness and resilience, and that you don't get broken just because someone called you the wrong pronoun. That you don't flip all the way out because someone called you a she when you identify as a he, or vice versa. That is not resilience. That is not emotionally healthy. Yet we're not talking about these things because we have now normalized that that's okay behavior. You remember during the pandemic when there were what we call quote unquote Karens and Kevins, and they were just freaking out, acting the absolute donkey in these places over masks or over whatever not. And some of them believe with all their hearts that their behaviors were justified. And they believed it. Your reason for doing a thing might be justified, but your reaction to it may not be. Two things can be true at once. I can understand you feeling a certain type of way. I get that. That does not mean you need to cut genitalias off or do certain things to the extreme. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. And I'm coming to you from a place of love. And I know a place of love may not sound like this because people always seem to think that love means you accept everything. You don't question it, you don't push back, and you don't say no. Well, I'm not that one. I'm going to love you, but I'm also going to tell you that some things I'm not going to accept. I think when we don't identify, if we don't identify certain struggles, then we don't know how to deal with them, and we won't deal with them. I am more concerned with, why does a person who was born male, identified as women? Like, what? I'm concerned about that. I want to know more about how does that work? And does that go beyond? Because everything I've heard so far, and this, it started with just gay homosexuals. When I talk to people, It's always like, well, from I was like 5 years old, I was playing with dolls. Boys would say that. Or listen, when I was 5 years old, I was in the yard in Jamaica playing in dirt, making stuff. I wasn't playing with dolls either. I think I had a doll much later in life. I remember that because that's how I learned to plait hair. But I was out there doing the amount of scars I have on my body will tell you I was out here climbing trees, jumping off things, carrying on. That did not make me a boy, nor did it make me want to be a boy. Why isn't it okay for us to teach our girls you can do that and still be a girl and still be girly and still be okay? In fact, you may not even be into girls, because that's the other thing. Somehow people have equated that if you do these certain things, then this is your path. You're going to love the same gender, or you must be this gender. Let's have a conversation about this. Let's talk about this, because it's obviously very, very layered. And I can't get into the nitty-gritty of it because, one, I don't have the time and I don't have the details. I'm just sharing my opinion on this matter as it stands. And I reserve the right to change my mind with more information. As it stands, this is where this is my stance. 10 toes down. Trans women are not women. They are trans women. And when we say they're trans women, now trans women can get the protection and the services that they need. They can actually get things that are for them. A trans woman is never going to have to deal with, unless, the sciences and AI, I bring AI into everything, may start creating, because I know they were working on that, having babies outside of the woman's womb. But that will tell you still need the womb. Even if you manufacture it, you still need it. And then the confusion, because you see men who are pregnant. Listen, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to discuss. And the fact that we don't really want to talk about it makes me a little, why are you not talking about it? Why? Why are you not talking about this? That this is clearly something we should be talking about. And maybe we have been talking about it in our different spaces, but I would like to see us deal with this in a healthier way. I do not think it's healthy for trans women or that movement to try and hijack the challenges, the struggles, the benefits of women. Because by golly, women fought, screamed, scratched. The amount of things women went through to get their rights. It's not okay that trans women want to hijack that. That's just not okay. It's just not. We're never going to share the same struggles. And that's okay. You think I share the same struggles as a white woman? Absolutely not. We share some struggles, but not all. I don't share the same struggles as a black man. Absolutely not. Just because I'm black doesn't mean that I'm a man. We have differences. I'm throwing that out there being extra, but the point I'm making is we do have differences. We do have differences, and it's okay to normalize that we're different. It's also okay to normalize that some things we don't need to be extreme about. We can normalize that it's okay for a man to, even that is questionable, but you wear what you want to wear. You want to put your lashes on and do your thing. But that does not make you a woman. And I know in some places, in some mindsets and frame of thinking, that people believe that's what makes you a woman. I am going to tell you it does not, ladies and gentlemen. No, it doesn't. Being a woman is sacred. We should uphold that. And I know for some people, you're already shutting off. You've already shut off a long time ago. So if you're still here with me, I know you're with me. But some of you, you're minimizing the role of a woman. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Do not allow anyone to take that from us, please. Don't take that from us. Do not allow anyone else to hijack all the struggles that women have been through to get to where we are today. The right to even be. Listen, do you know how many rights women did not have? Blood, tears, sweat gone into our ability to do certain things. And you are completely okay with other people just, no, I don't roll like that. I'm not gonna say, you're just gonna, and I know what you're saying. You're like, you're a black woman. You're supposed to, I guess it what you're saying, because everyone always uses our struggles to justify us accepting things that we should question. I'm just gonna tell you, this is my stance, and I have some questions. So, if you have an issue with anything that I said, feel free to join me on my podcast, Candid Conversations with Marsha, because I'm okay with talking about it. I'm okay with talking to people who don't agree with me, who have a different stance, or may even have different information, more information, useful information that can help me to form a better opinion, an educated opinion. Those of you who also agree with me and realize that I'm missing some information or there's some gaps in my belief system or in my understanding, please feel free to join me on Candid Conversations with Marsha. You can also send me a message, an email. MarshaKerrTalley.com is my website. You can check that out, and you can schedule, or on my calendar, you can schedule a time that we can talk if you want to join me on my podcast. But I'm not afraid of having candid conversations. I'm not afraid of talking about the things that I feel affects us. Some of you don't know it's affecting you, your children, society as a whole, because you don't see it. You may not be out there. You may not be in the schools. You may not be in the churches. May not be in the workplaces. So you don't really see what's happening and how it's transitioning. You may not see that. So you don't really get it. And some of you do get it. And that's, you do still strongly believe what you believe. And I'm okay with that too. I just believe gender is important. Womanhood is important. Being a woman is sacred and should be honored. And I believe that boys don't have to be acting a specific way, or girls don't have to act a specific way, that we have value to add to society and to each other. I don't believe the answer is a gender-free society or a gender-fluid society. I do not believe that, because for me to believe that is to believe that gender is the problem, and gender is not the problem, nor is genitalia. That's not the problem. So we are resting our emphasis in the wrong places. So when we talk about emotional healing, we have to address some of the wounds that have created some of these mindsets, some of this thinking. We need to stop overlooking that. We're dealing with the fruits instead of addressing the root. So what a lot of us are seeing now is the fruit of things that were grounded and seeded for a long, long, long time. But in order to address the actual issue, we have to address the root cause, not the symptom, not the fruit, but the root. I don't believe that gender is the issue. And I don't believe that gender fluidity or being free from gender is the answer either. I don't. I don't believe transitioning from one to the other is the answer either. I do not. I just don't. There's more that we need to unpack. There's more that we need to talk about. There's more healing that needs to be done. There's more things to be addressed, and putting a Band-Aid over it is not going to help. And in fact, creating more trauma to address that trauma is not going to help. Okay? So with that, I've been running my mouth for almost an hour. I am Marsha Kerr Talley, your emotional wellness coach. That does not mean, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm perfect. I've told you a billion times, perfection is not a human quality. We are all diverse. We're all different. We're all broken in some type of way. So perfection is not a human quality. That name is for things. It's for things, okay? Things can be perfect, but people, we can't. So that doesn't mean as an emotional wellness coach that I have it all together, but I will tell you that I'm definitely a person who embodies the work that I do. I'm okay with questioning myself and unpacking and going through the layers and finding the areas of myself that needs to be worked on so I can live optimally in this human experience. I don't want to hide from myself. So I'm okay taking off the layers and being naked with myself and being out of the closet with myself. Some of you have to get out of the closet, and I'm not talking about no gay stuff. I'm not even talking about that. Some of you, quote unquote, straight folks, you're closeted. And again, not talking about identity or sexual orientation. You don't know yourself. And it's okay for you to be on a journey of self-discovery. That's what this is about. But being very mindful that you are not creating more trauma by using trauma to solve the problem of trauma. You need to heal. And sometimes that's going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes that's going to mean breaking the narrative. It's going to go against some people. They have dictated to you that you must be this because of this, and this. But it's only you that gets to determine that. And you don't have to do anything extreme. In fact, I'll recommend you don't. Before you make any permanent decisions, chill. Get a therapist, work through some things, and not any therapist, because some of the therapists are the reason why some of this madness is happening. And let me be clear, some of the things that are happening is mad. But yeah, that's me coming off my soapbox. I know the risk of voicing your opinion on things like this. I get it. I understand. But I'm hoping there are some people out there that also stands with me and understand my heart and where I'm coming from. We have to heal. We can't camouflage it. We can't morph it. And we can't band-aid it or bandage it up. We've got to heal. When we heal and make decisions from a place of healing instead of the place of wound, life looks different. Our decisions looks different. Our choices looks different. So with that, I'm Marsha Kerr Talley. Be good in all you do. Be nice to yourself and to other people. And if you need to talk more, you know where to find me. MarshaKerrTalley.com. Have a great day. Bye.